evening, y'all. It looks like it's going to be baseball time in America. Welcome to the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll, Jay, and RJ.
I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ. First off, I want to thank all our followers for continuing to watch. And for any newcomers, please make sure to hit like, subscribe, and click the bell so you get notified whenever we upload new videos. And for those of you who may not have the time to contribute to watching it online, please listen to our audio episodes in the car or whenever is most convenient to you. We can be found on Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Well, good evening, folks. How are you two?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. How about yourself? Good. Hey, before we get rolling, building on what RJ said about watching the podcast, via our YouTube channel, Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify. I just want to let you guys know that as of this week, I talked about on the last episode us being close to 100 likes on Facebook, our Facebook page. So this week, I'm very happy to announce we got over that hump. We're over the 100 like mark. It was very exciting for me. I remember just looking at it every day, looking at the counter. Oh man, we're at 92, we're at 95, we're at 99. And we got stuck on 99 for several days, and I was kind of like, oh my God, is this going to happen? But just 2 days ago, we got over the 100 like mark. So I'm real excited about that. I have contacted our 100th like, just to let her know that, hey, you were 100th like. I'm going to be sending her a t-shirt once they are done being made, along with you jokers. I'll make sure y'all get one too. That way I'm not the only one sporting the Now That You Mention It exclusive Now That You Mention It podcast t-shirt.
Can we get like members jackets?
Yeah, you can use a t-shirt to do everything from wiping your face to washing your car to
making a mess,
drying off making a mess. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's actually a good way to segue into our opening topic. So yes, to echo what my brother Jay said, thank you all for sticking with us. We definitely enjoy just talking to each other. We're just shooting the bull, having a good time. We know we meander, sometimes we ramble, but again, we really just like talking to each other. And we thank you for at least giving us your ear for a little while. Again, leave us some comments, whether we're doing a good job or if you think there's something we need to be talking about or we're just complete idiots. That's fine. We really appreciate your feedback.
Can't tell you how many times I've heard that in my life.
So, we got a couple things we want to get into, but I think we wanted to quickly touch upon kind of where we are with our COVID. The numbers continue going up. Since the last time we spoke, we now have a mandatory mask requirement in the county of Dallas, and so I think you're going to say something that our mayor Eric Johnson for the city of Dallas, he
addressed everybody today, and the numbers just they're not good. They're climbing. Everything's going back up. I mean, we're to the point now where there is contemplation of another shutdown, which I know you said, bro, that would be disastrous for our economy. But all the medical data is out there. The doctors at the city level, doctors at the county level, doctors at the federal level are still, man, they're begging people to put their masks on. And that can be the biggest deterrent from us having to do what we don't want to do. And that's another shutdown. I think that a lot of people's frustrations were taken out after the last shutdown, in different ways. Some of those protesters that protested, well, I'm sure were frustrated. It's people being angry or taking out their frustrations on other people. We don't need it again. I know that my wife was completely frustrated having to be home for 2 straight months. not being able to go out. She has asthma. I've said that before, and it's a big, it's a big safety scare for her. To have to go someplace and not have her mask on and see other people without their masks.
Right. Well, and the difference is from the first time that the shutdown hit us is a lot of us didn't know. A lot of us weren't prepared. A lot of us we're still learning, trying to learn and understand. But we've had now a few months to understand and to learn. I think at this point, we all recognize we got to keep our economy going, but we all need to take personal responsibility. And if the way we're going to keep our economy going and people getting out and doing things is for us to just have a mild consideration of wearing a mask and try to social distance as best you can, then we have the personal responsibility to do that. I know a lot of people don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told by the government. They don't want to be told by individual businesses. And that's one of the things that I think we forget is that a business should have a right to say, we want to sell to everybody and anybody. We all want you to be our customers, but we also need to practice safe practice. And if you don't want to conform, we're sorry, but you need to go. And people need to be respectful of that. We need to show some patience. It is a mild inconvenience having to wear a mask, but it's like some of the conversations we've had, not necessarily just online, but just between us. And, we do a family call. We try to do it once a week where everybody jumps on a Zoom call and we, just catch up and everything. And we all talk about the need for, I guess, patience and understanding, because the reality is this isn't going to go away anytime soon until we get a vaccine or build up enough immunity to it. It's a real thing. And while there's a significant portion or a strong percentage of the population that probably will be asymptomatic or at the very least have mild symptoms, there's still a significant portion of the population that this could be catastrophic. RJ, I'll let RJ speak for himself, but I know one of his friends, it hit their family pretty hard, and one of their members is in the hospital and they had to put him on a respirator. And that's a very scary thing. I mean, these are people that we know very well, people that, and as I've said before, we've had other acquaintances. We had one person die from it, and it's a very serious thing. But hopefully, that people will try and practice some patience, and we can continue to keep the economy moving. We can continue to get out there and be active. We just got to be smart about it, and we need to quit being so short-tempered when we're mildly inconvenienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you two have said. I mean, yeah, it's an inconvenience. I think, we all hate wearing it. My eyes get watery sometimes. My nose gets itchy. My face just kind of hates it, especially having the beard. It's not fun. But I do it for, the people around me and the people I don't know, because the problem, I shouldn't say problem, but the people who are asymptomatic are really what's scary, because you can have it and be transmitting it and not really even know. And, unfortunately, there are some people who have it and know they have it and have still gone out. It's kind of been on Twitter. And that's sorry. That's such a sorry thing to do. I mean,
especially if you know that you're infected, if you tested positive, you're 100% sure that you've got this disease and you don't feel the side effects of it. You don't feel the symptoms of it. For you to even consider going out and risking getting somebody else sick, you're right, man. That is just sorry. Because you're right, man. Wearing the mask is no fun. I'm the same way. I when a customer comes into my office, I have to put that mask on, and I have to keep that mask on until that customer leaves the office. The things are hot. you get sweaty. You have lunch, you get onion breath. You're breathing back into your mask. It's. I told you guys that I made the mistake of putting a Listerine strip in my mouth. After lunch, and a customer came in, so I put the mask on while I still had the strip in my mouth, and the vapors from it just tore me up, my nose, my eyes. I got all watery. I mean, it looked like I had seen a Sandra Bullock, love movie or something.
Oh,
just so
goodness.
many, and then I wear reading glasses at work. So having the mask on, having to put glasses on, your glasses get all foggy. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, but I've said it in the past, my wife has asthma. Our in-laws live with us and they're both in their 70s. I have to be able to justify to myself going to work, getting up to go to work every day, coming home every day, and know that I'm not going to get them sick.
Yeah, I mean, I saw also this weekend on Facebook, there was a guy, I want to say it was Florida, but I can't remember. But in the video,
Florida,
the security guard at Walmart is trying to prevent him from going in, and he's just pushing the security guard. He's trying to crawl under him, just doing everything. It's like, dude, if you took that same energy, it would just be easier to put on the mask, go get your stuff and get out. I mean, I just think there's such a confluence of events that are happening. I mean, you have our president who's saying, well, if we tested more, we wouldn't have as many cases. And then, he's kind of also on Twitter retweeting things, trying to feed into, that segment of the population, because he knows it's his base that thinks that, this is some kind of hoax that, the doctors have been in it since the beginning. And, I know I saw a clip of Dr. Fauci earlier this week was being interrogated by Congress, and they were asked, well, do you regret, saying that the mask shouldn't be a requirement? And he basically came out and said, well, the reason that was being said at the time is so normal citizens weren't overbearing on the supply chain, and we prevented our very much needed hospital and frontline care workers from having those masks. So it was just best at that time to let the supply chain kind of figure itself out and have everybody stay home. But I mean, this is real, guys. I mean, we're almost at 10% positivity in the state, significantly up from, what it was originally. Houston hospitals are almost at capacity now. And for the first time this week, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw a story that their children's hospital is now starting to admit adults because there's not enough beds to go around.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it sucks, but it's not that hard to put on a mask. I mean, it's so, I guess, awkward for me. As I was saying earlier, I took a little mini road trip to do some Father's Day gift hunting. And while I was stopped out at a Buc-ee's, there were people, because the mask order had only taken place in Dallas County, I think, at the time, maybe even Austin and San Antonio, but locally, I believe it was only Dallas. And I was in the minority of people wearing masks at Buc-ee's, and there were people, significantly older than me that were not wearing masks, and I'm just like, man, I'm way younger than you, probably have a better immune system, and I'm still wearing the mask.
Yeah.
So why aren't you?
The ones that I can't figure out are the people who take their kids to places they don't need to take them. I've seen stories, and I've seen it firsthand. We had our faucet outside developed a leak, so I had to fix it. To stop the water from running and stuff like that. So I ran to Home Depot, and I'm in Home Depot. I run in just to get the part that I need. And man, just people walking around with their kids, like there's no care in the world, kids, no mask on.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, I can understand. You want to be an idiot? Fine. But man, you're putting your kid's life at risk, because their immune systems are not fully developed yet. You know, a teenager, that's one thing. When you have a little 3-4-year-old kid walking around, their immune systems are not fully developed to fight off something like this. And you're putting that kid at risk just because you want to walk around Home Depot. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I agree that the people are just not making good decisions. And again, who knows? Some people are just flat out selfish. Some people just maybe aren't mindful of what they're doing. I know that's kind of a lame excuse, but I do believe that there are some people just oblivious. I see them every day. And yeah, I mean, for the most part, we work in a profession in sales in particular where, you know, once you get to the office and you get settled in, you can take your mask off and you're fine as long as you stay in your confined little space and you're really not interacting with anybody else. But there are times when you're out in the field or you're on property and you're trying to make your sales pitch, you're trying to answer questions and give out information. And I mean, it becomes cumbersome, you know, talking through your mask. You have to talk louder. You have to breathe differently because you're trying to, you know, keep going and getting your oxygen. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it is just truly a mild inconvenience. And I think part of the problem is in our country, because we celebrate so many liberties and freedoms that we have, that we do become resentful when we have to kind of give those up. And we're not really mindful of just how blessed we are, because, you know, here we are, we're getting all crabby and frustrated because we have to wear, you know, a mask. Other countries, people are worrying about how they're going to live for the day, how they're going to have enough food, how they're going to survive the elements, where are they going to sleep. Even people in our own country are dealing with those very problems. And here we are getting bent out of shape because so-and-so is asking us to put on a mask if we want that $3 cup of coffee or that yogurt with all the things. And we, you know, if you don't want to sell it to me because I don't have a mask on, again, we just need to get that level of respect amongst each other and cooperation and patience. We just don't have patience.
Yeah.
But you know, hey, let's talk about some. I
was just about to say.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad decisions.
Yeah. Well, and you know, here's just segue into sports, man. The thing that's scary is, you know, everybody was so geared up about, are we going to have seasons? I mean, the NFL's moving forward. You know, NBA has a plan. Major League Baseball has now finally decided they're going to come up with it. Golf has already resumed. NASCAR. And then you hear stories this week of Zeke testing positive, along with a couple of other Cowboys and some and some of the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
You know, you have NBA players that are now testing positive. Djokovic from the Denver Nuggets, who is not even in the United States. He's in his own home country, testing positive over there in Serbia. So now his return to the United States to play basketball is on hold. You have the tennis player Djokovic, who tested positive after a charity match. You have some golfers who have tested positive after the last 2 weeks of playing round, or their caddies testing positive. So now they're pulling out because of that. You know, it's just, now you have to wonder if you start to see these gatherings, these players, because how is this going to work out, man? There is no 6 feet distance in football.
No.
Or any sport really, other than golf. But I mean, or tennis. But.
Yeah. But there's, I mean, all the major sports. So if we can't even get the sport off the ground, how are people going to be able to return to go see these sports to begin with, you know, a year down the road? It's just, man, it's such a, I'm ready. I'm so ready, man. I'm ready for the sports to come back.
Maybe what they can do is they can broadcast it at the drive-in theaters, and you can listen to it on your car radio, and still pay the high dollar admission to get in and watch the game on to your dirty ass windshield.
I know you and I, bro, we talked about this. We almost went half on season tickets for the Rangers this year.
Yes, we did.
And, but right when I was getting ready to pull the trigger was, right around March when all this started to happen. And, people were telling me, don't do it because you don't know what's going to happen. So I wound up not pulling the trigger on the season tickets. And I'm glad I did because you know what? The season ticket holders, they're not getting their money back. They're on the hook for all that money that they paid for those season tickets, and they're going to get a third of the season that they paid for. I guess they'll get some of it back when those games officially get canceled. But as salesmen, they're what the big push is going to be. Hey, let's just issue you a credit for the next season.
Exactly. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. That's all they're going to handle.
And with the economy tanking the way it is right now, people need those funds freed up. That's one of the big things, man. You hear stories of people who, I had my funds and my season tickets in basketball. Well, guess what? The games never officially got canceled, so they don't have to refund that money. The games have just been postponed, which means you're still going to get tickets to the games once we make them up. And at that point, you're like, but I needed that money when the economy was tanking and I lost my job because
right.
I got laid off. Sports is supposed to be our release. It's supposed to be our getaway from the real world, man. It's supposed to be, hey, man, let's go to the ballpark. Let's go watch a game, get away for 6 or 7 hours, however long, 3 hours, however long a baseball game takes. For a lot of people, it's not 3 hours. That's just what it plays out on TV. There's people who go for the whole experience, man. 2 years ago, for the first time ever, I went to a game at Wrigley with Oliver. And, man, the game didn't start till 2. We got there at 10 because the scene is just, man, you got to walk around Wrigleyville. You got to eat at some of these bars. You got to go do this. You got to do a little pregame. Then you go to the game. You sit there for 3.5 hours. You get done. You go to the sports bar across the street. I mean, it's a 7-8 hour experience.
Right.
To go to one baseball game, so that's supposed to be our getaway. But I just don't see how it's going to happen, man.
I think the NBA has kind of the best. This is unprecedented, obviously. So it's kind of hard to say, what an action plan should be. But I think the NBA probably has the most solid of them all because, they're going to have this bubble, as they call it, where players really can't leave. So now you have players who are opting out of, continuing the season because, some of them just recently had kids. Some of them, I know there's a couple that are still, they don't think sports should resume, not because of COVID. I mean, I'm sure there are because of COVID, but others who are, want to get the Black Lives Matter movement, kind of handled first. So they think, resuming sports would take away from that. But I mean, there's a lot of players, though. It seems like the majority of the players are saying, let's get back and play some ball. And
yeah,
they're gonna have to wear these rings that they say supposedly have a 90% accuracy of predicting symptoms of COVID. I think 3 or 5 days out. So when this all started, we're all kind of just caught off guard, unfortunately, due to our leadership. But now we've made some pretty significant technical advances. I do think the feeling of sports back is going to kind of send the message that we're in the clear, which we're not. But obviously, I think and to some extent, we also do need something to kind of distract us. Because at the same time, I think, if we're able to just stay home and, go buy a 6-pack or, whatever your preference is and just watch it on your couch, I think that's a lot easier to stay home than when you got nothing else to watch but Tiger King every week or, whatever the new one is. So, well, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And what I'll be interested in seeing is what the quality of play is because, there's been this has been a huge disruption in the traditional schedule and cycle of how these guys prepare for a season. And even with basketball, if basketball resumes, you know, a lot of these guys, I'm sure some of them have been working out and trying to stay in shape and stay active, but that doesn't mean they've been practicing with their teammates. And so you guys know as well as I do that oftentimes when you get to the playoffs, sometimes it comes down to which team is in their groove. And so how many teams are not going to have their groove because of this long delay, they haven't been playing together. And so it's almost like starting up new again in whatever capacity, whatever the game plan is, however they work out logistics and try and play this. One, you're going to have the high probability that your roster is going to change week to week. I mean, you could say, hey, that could happen anyway because of injury, but this could be a legitimate, you know, hey, this guy showed symptoms today. He's off for 14 days or whatever, however they intend to deal with it. And, you know, so what if, you know, you get a very, very piecemeal play out of all these guys, because again, it's been very abrupt. It's very rushed, and nobody knows how it's going to play out because, as you said earlier, both of you, there's no sport. I mean, even golf, you know, there's still those moments where you have exposure with others. While much more limited, because once you get on a golf course, you know, it's just you and your caddy. However, you know, the caddies hang out together and some of the golfers hang out together when they're not on the course. But in every other game, and you're in close proximity to so many people, even if it's just the players only. You don't have an audience, but you still have a coaching staff. You still have a medical staff. You still have technical people. You still have, you know, particularly like in basketball, you have the kids that are doing nothing but mopping up sweat whenever there's a timeout or there's there's a collision. So all these sports are going to, I mean, they're all contact sports. They're all going to be played with players right on top of each other, just as they've always been. So what if you're slow in detecting a person who has contracted the COVID? Because I'm sure there's going to be several instances of either false negatives or just being slow to catch it. And so how many times does that guy come into contact with 2 or 3 other players? And so it'll all be interesting. I'll be curious to see what the quality of play in any sport is going to be. And, you know, like with football,
LeBron's going to win his 4th.
What's that?
What? Who said that?
Look, I mean, we're all desperate. We want sports back. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, all 3 of us are big into just about all the sports. And like you said, Jay, we were really excited about the new Ranger Stadium, buying tickets, going, watching some games and hanging out. And, you know, it's unfortunate that this has happened. And so we didn't get to do that. We hope that by next year, all that stuff will work out and there'll still be an opportunity for us to go get tickets. But I think we're all in agreement. I mean, we'd love to just be able to sit in front of the TV and have something to talk about. It's interesting, you know, before COVID, I was a huge P1 of the ticket. That's all pretty much I would listen to most of the day. And since sports has been gone and they've been talking about a myriad of topics and, you know, trying to keep it as sports related as possible, but there's just only so much you can talk about when you don't have anything going on, no games to report, no trends to analyze.
Yeah.
No headlines other than COVID, COVID, COVID. Um, so, so I wound up kind of changing my listening habits. I've been tuning more into Bloomberg and paying attention a little bit more to the news, and I'm sure that we'll get back to, or I'll go back to the way it was once sports resumes. But there are times when I just turn off the radio and just plug in the phone and listen to the stuff on my iTunes, because I'm tired of hearing about the news and COVID and President Trump and the unrest in society. But by the same token, there's no sports or anything else to talk about. So I think it's easy for us to kind of just fall into that.
If you get bored enough on Podbean and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, there's this really cool show I heard about. It's called the Now That You Mention It podcast. It has these really great, hosts, and go check that one out. That's a good podcast to listen to.
Oh yeah, I heard about that, and I heard they had 3 really good, talented guys on there. So you're right. I probably should check that out. I'll give that a shot.
One really good-looking co-host named Jay, and then a couple of spares, that he has to carry along. So,
well, let's talk about another organization that has at least 3 pretty good players: the Dallas Cowboys, and your favorite quarterback, Uncle JJ, Dak Prescott.
So Dakota Prescott signed his tender on Monday, huh? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it hurt his feelings to go sign that $31.5 million guaranteed contract, for 1 year of work.
Well, I think when it's all said and done, I think before the season starts, hoping there's a season, he's going to have a long-term deal in place.
Well, he's until middle of July. I think July 15th is the cutoff date for them to get a deal worked out. I get the feeling they're going to too, but you never know. I mean, look, if I'm Jerry Jones, and let's spend Jerry Jones's money, okay?
Right.
If I'm Jerry Jones, I'm not signing Dak to a long-term contract this year. I'm just not, because it's too far gone. Because here's the deal. You don't know how the collective bargaining agreement is going to be next year because of lost revenue, because of ticket sales. By signing the franchise tag, Dak is guaranteed that money regardless of what happens to the salary cap next year due to revenue, right? So if they sign the franchise agreement again next year, then he's guaranteed not only 100%, he's guaranteed 125% of this year's salary cap, not the salary cap next year, this year's salary cap. So now you're talking about what, $39 million, almost $40 million.
Mm-hmm.
So he stands to make $70 million in 2 years worth of work just signing franchise. And you know what? There's no guarantee that he's going to. I mean, if he goes 8-8 again and you sign him to a $45 million deal, how dumb do you look?
I agree. I mean, I
don't know, man.
I've gone on record amongst us when he first came in and replaced Romo. I thought Dak was he was a good talent, and he showed good leadership, and he seemed to be unshakable. But I was still very much a Tony Romo guy. And I really wanted them to put Tony Romo back in, because I felt like we were only going to have Tony Romo for a short window left anyway. I think his injuries were pretty much spelled the end of his career anyway. We were very near the end. But the one thing that had always concerned me about Dak is his inconsistent accuracy. Yeah. I mean, he's had flashes of brilliance in terms of his throwing, but there's also been just times when he's been below par for an NFL quarterback. He's had some good games, and I think he's gotten increasingly better. But I agree with you. I don't know that I'm ready to just back up the truck and pay him all this money, particularly because I do think that, unfortunate that we may or may not get to see whether or not Andy Dalton can do anything.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton is not a premier quarterback by any stretch, and I'm not suggesting that he's even better than Dak. But, Andy Dalton does have skills, and he's been around. And I think given a good team, I think Andy Dalton can produce results. And you're not going to pay Andy Dalton but a fraction what you would pay Dak.
Yeah.
Dak is young. He is durable. He's healthy. He's smart. I think generally he has all the makings of a good leader. But I do still hesitate myself in thinking, do I really want to pay him that money? Because I'm not necessarily 100% sold yet. And sure enough, that you lock him in, you're stuck with him because you're not going to go get another quarterback if you find out that Dak was not really, he's not really the one.
And the thing is, you're gambling on whether this is going to be the horse that takes you over the finish line, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see it, man. Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks that he's already proven it before he even moves on to his mega deal. He's already got a Super Bowl in the pocket. Yep. Russ was the same way. Before Russ got paid, Russ had a Super Bowl in his pocket. There's a couple of quarterbacks out there that he didn't sign his mega deal till after he won the Super Bowl.
Right.
He still got he got a big paycheck bump before he won his Super Bowl, but he didn't sign his big one until after his Super Bowl win. Right. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't proved himself, and he got himself a big deal. Kirk Cousins got himself a big deal. The problem is somebody's going to pay him, whether it's going to be here, whether it's going to be somewhere else. Somebody's going to pay him.
Right.
But man,
I think that's more of the scenario that's at hand is that maybe he hasn't proven himself, but I mean, if he does, I mean, they already made the mistake by not signing him earlier because they could have gotten him cheaper. They already messed up once. So at some point he's going to get frustrated. He's going to say, "Well, I can't. Who wants to be on a year-to-year franchise tag every year?" He's not going to want that. And at some point, he's going to say this
twice.
Well, yeah, that's right. You're right. So you got to pay him at some point. You got to take a gamble, or you either, go tank the season and hope you get, the next Tom Brady, because we can all sit here. I have this, I always come with the stats. So I think we'd all say Dak is better than Jared Goff, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Based on his winning record. All right, 2019, $33.5 million. He's better than Kirk Cousins?
Oh yeah.
All right,
I think so.
2020, $33 million. He's better than Carson Wentz?
Yes.
32 million, 2019. So, I mean, I think 40 million is a little steep, definitely. If they can get something done around 36, 37, I think that's pretty reasonable. But you got to do something, man, because you can go ahead and insert my clip from the earlier episode where we talked about Andy Dalton, and I mentioned his stats. But he's been a decent quarterback too. I think he'd fill in, fairly well. He'd probably be an 8-8 quarterback, but.
Well, here are a couple of things that I think will be worth that'll help be telling. Because I do think that Dak and I think the team overall suffered from mediocre coaching. I think we all agree that none of us believe that Jason Garrett was the right head coach for this team. He was Jerry's guy, obviously, but I think there was plenty of examples where Garrett mismanaged and miscoached this team. He was just flat out outcoached. That really has little to do with the players. But that being said, I do think that, to some degree, I do agree with you, RJ. When you do the comparison like that and you put it in that context, certainly. And if I felt like Dak would sign a contract at $35 million for, that we could lock him in, great. Let's go ahead and do it. What's a few more million? But the problem I see is I think he wants to get those top dollars, and he doesn't want to commit for long term because he wants to sign another contract.
Yeah.
And that's become the nature of the business. And that's the other thing we kind of aren't including in this is the business has changed, right? It is extremely difficult to find that player that's going to make a long-term commitment and, basically feel like, hey, I'm going to lock myself in with this one team because this is home forever. There aren't going to be many more Dirk Nowitzkis in any market.
In any sport, yeah.
Yeah, in any market, in any sport, any market. Because it is all about them getting as much money as they can. And I can't really fault them for that. Because it's particularly in high contact sports like football, you really don't know how long that career is going to be. Everybody thinks they're going to be Tom Brady. Everybody thinks they're going to be around for many, 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 many years. Tom Brady's the anomaly. And what I was going to say, RJ, is talk about your, whether or not it's even a valid thought process to think you're going to tank a season and go find the next Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a 1 in a million find. And, I think that even Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, he definitely benefits from the system he's in and having the coach that he has. And so I think in Dallas, we'll see what's going to happen now that we've got our new head coach, and I think hopefully that we have a much better guidance, and that we feel like we're, I think McCarthy's, I feel a lot better about McCarthy being our head coach than Jason Garrett. But as it applies to Dak, I mean, hey, go out there and perform. If the Cowboys make a mistake and he goes out there and just goes lights out, takes us to a Super Bowl and then says, okay, now you're going to pay me $40 million, $42 million, $43 million. It's the risk you gamble, right? It's the gamble. It's what you do.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, and I think that's the thing for me is that I don't think Dak is Tom Brady. I think he's a very solid, towards the topper end of the league quarterback. He has his flaws, every quarterback does. Some have more than others, but it's been proven already. You don't have to have a top 5 quarterback, to win in this league. I don't think any of us would say Eli was at any point a top 5 quarterback.
Right. No, you're right.
And he won 2. So, I mean, it's a team sport. I mean, definitely quarterback's one of the most important. You can't put Brandon Whedon out there either, but I think you can make it with, a pretty, B plus B minus quarterback and still be, a pretty dominant Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah, and the thing about Dak is he is eventually going to get paid, and if he's smart, if he has to leave this team to get paid, he's going to lose out on millions in endorsements.
Yep.
I mean, you're right. On the football field, he's only made $3 million on his rookie deal. But man, how much money has he made in endorsements already? You see the guy in everything. You see him in Chunky's commercials. You see him in Pepsi commercials.
Sleep commercial, sleep number commercial.
Sleep Number. Yeah. I mean, he if he leaves the Cowboys to go somewhere else, then that money dries up because this is the most high profile, high tone position in the NFL, period, bar none, zip. I mean, Tom Brady was made the New England Patriots a top tier team, but without Tom Brady, let's see how quickly their stock falls as far as endorsement deals for those players and things like that. But the Cowboys quarterback, it's always going to be the Cowboys quarterback because if one thing Jerry Jones has done correctly, that's market this team. That he paid what $360 million for the Cowboys in '89.
Yeah, something like that.
$5 billion franchise now
and growing.
and growing. The number one franchise in any sport in the world.
Even with mediocre performance on the field, still number one.
25 years since the Super Bowl. Yeah. It is. And Dak's going to walk away from that, the guaranteed endorsement money to go get another $3 or $4 million somewhere else.
Honestly, it'd be funny to see what would happen, what kind of decision Dak would make if the team that's willing to pay him the most money are the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns? How did I know you were going to say that, man?
But,
hey, Dak, we'll back up the truck. Come on over here. He's going to be like, yeah, you know what? That 34, 35 ain't looking too bad in Dallas.
Well, and before we get on to our next topic, I think, that there's some merit to that, too. I think there are people who are willing to take a pay cut, but certainly for them, it's more about the winning. Because a lot of players know, they're going to get the top endorsements. So, people like Paul George, he got tired in Indianapolis, things like that. I wouldn't say he took, a major pay cut, but I'm sure if it meant winning rings, there's still that segment of players that, money's not necessarily the most important because when it's all said and done, they don't want to go down as, well, what could have been, or, well, he doesn't have a ring, so.
Right. No, I agree with you there, RJ, and I do see where you're going with this. But, here's the other thing. My observation is this. There's only a handful of teams that I think year to year are always going to be in the hunt for a championship.
Yeah.
The thing about parity happening in the NFL is that from year to year, a team can be right at the cusp one year. Look at the Rams. And then the next year, they're kind of just middle of the pack, mediocre. Even though there wasn't really significant drop off in talent or, you kept most of your roster intact, it's just a year to year to year league. The only team that has been able to weather that storm has been the Patriots.
Yeah.
So, even if Dak were looking at it from that point and say, look, it's not just about the money. It's I want to win. I think most of the teams that are high contenders, they've already got their quarterback. So it's not like, there's a team out there saying, well, we're just a quarterback away. Maybe San Francisco. Who just
gave Jimmy Garoppolo a boat ton of money.
Right. No, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, so they're the other kind of contender teams out there that really could benefit from maybe an upgrade in quarterback is very few that are going to be contenders.
Yeah.
I mean, he could go to a team that's kind of lower tier and certainly make them better, I think. But for him to go say or to find that perfect fit and be able to just slide right in and become the next Super Bowl winning champion, that's a hard thing because again, it's not a hey, I made a mistake this year, I need to go over here or go over there. I mean, in the NFL, teams aren't going to sign him if he's not willing at least to commit to 3 years.
Yeah.
And so, in a 3-year cycle, so many things can happen.
Well, one of those teams, as you mentioned, the New England Patriots. What could they do with Dak?
Yeah.
Dude, I would vomit
Well,
if he
well,
went to the
but
Patriots.
here's the other thing. As long as Belichick is there, I don't think they're going to pay Dak 36 million, 37 million, 40 million.
No, they didn't want to pay Tom Brady that.
That's what I'm saying.
and that was his quarterback.
And the guy won 6 Super Bowls.
Well, I think that the big takeaway from that whole conversation is that Dak's going to be losing his sleep experts money, sleep comfort money.
Sleep number, get it right,
dude. Right. Speaking of sleeping, how you like that segue, buddy? We were talking earlier about sleeping, and I had this question for you guys because I read this article of a couple in England, Great Britain, that, and this is just the weirdest thing in the world to me. They don't have a specified side of the bed when they go to sleep. They both have said whoever gets to the bed first chooses what side of the bed they're going to sleep on that night. And to me, that is just plain flat out psychotic.
I know for me, and of course your mom, we have a kind of a functional way that we sleep in our bed, and that's with her having the ability to get, be closer to the restroom. And so, the few times that we've moved around the room, kind of reconfigure the room, it has flip-flopped us on which side of the bed we sleep. But for the most part, it's always been, or mainly been, me sleeping on the right side and her sleeping on the left, because the bed's usually been on with the left closest to the restroom. And that's just her personal preference. For me, it doesn't make a difference to me one way or the other. But I am consistent about it, sleeping on my side, even when she's working, because at times she works at night. And there are times when I'm in bed by myself, I still sleep on my side of the bed, probably 99% of the time. Every now and then I'll sleep at a different angle, or occasionally I might sleep on her side, but very rare. How about you?
I was going to say, I think that's more, that speaks more to the fact that we as humans are just creatures of habit, because for me, I could kind of care less, honestly. I mean, I do have a historical.
No, you couldn't care less.
Yeah, you're right. I couldn't care less. I could sleep on any which way. I mean, I think pretty much anybody in our family who knows me knows it's well documented that I could fall asleep just about anywhere at any time.
Right.
So that being said, for me, it really doesn't matter. But obviously, living with my girlfriend now, she does have a preference, and that's fine by me. But, when she was working overnight, for the most part, I'd still sleep on my side or in the center. There were a couple times, and I got grief for it, but I slept on her side. But I think it just speaks more to the fact that we're creatures of habit. But, I have a suggestion, but I want to wait for, slow connection over there to rejoin. So,
well, so while we're waiting for him and talking about this, maybe we can also add another element to here, is like maybe we can expand a little bit to also talk about mattresses. I'm a big guy, and since you were a baby, we've always had a king size bed, always. And through various times in my life, it's always been your mom, me, and one, if not two, you guys always in our bedroom. Because it's just, I mean, that's the way we roll, right? We have a big room, we have a big bed, and at various times when you guys were little, you guys would hop in the bed with us, and then your brother and now your sister. So my biggest argument in all of that has always been that I'm the biggest person in the entire family for the most part. I always get the smallest amount of mattress.
All right. Smallest real estate.
The smallest piece of real estate in my own bedroom.
That's kind of how we are. I mean, I know that there's another big debate about sleep when it comes to pets. Like our dog sleeps with us. And
man.
well, and that's the reaction I get from a lot of people when I tell them our dog sleeps with us a lot. Half the world is like you. They're like, oh God, no, that never happens. Mm-hmm. And the other half of the world is like me. And they're like, oh yeah, our dog sleeps with us too. So when our dog is fairly big, she's not a small puppy. She's, 70 pounds. She's a big girl. Yeah. So between me and my wife and the dog, I usually by the end of the night am sleeping on the smallest fraction of the bed as they get in there, and they kind of both, because they look, I'm naturally a hot person, and at night I radiate a lot of heat. Mm-hmm. And so they both like to cuddle next to me because I'm so warm. Mm-hmm. That's their deal. They they'll start on their side of the bed, but by the end of the night everybody's like all over me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like trying to elbow somebody to get over here. But like I was saying, I always sleep on the right side of the bed, regardless whether it's here at home, if we go to an Airbnb, if we go to a hotel, doesn't matter where we are. My side of the bed is always the right side of the bed. And my wife is always on the left side, and I don't know why. And it's just weird that people, I've never heard of anybody not having a side of the bed.
Well, and while you took your short vacation, that's kind of what I was saying, is that I think that speaks more to the fact that we as humans are just creatures of habit, mm-hmm. More so than anything else, because we set routines. I mean, we just naturally like to get in routines. So I think if you're used to that, then of course, anywhere you go, I am kind of in that same category, but like I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter to me. I could sleep in the middle. I could sleep on the left side. I could sleep hanging upside down on my couch. So
I see. And I can't, I can fall asleep in different places too. Like if I fall asleep on the couch, I can fall asleep on the couch. I can fall asleep in my easy chair. Right. I've fallen asleep. Roland can tell you at work before. He's seen me do it.
So quick question. So do you sleep on the right side of the couch or the left side of the couch? Do you sleep on the right side of your easy chair or the left side of your easy chair? Just asking.
Okay. Well, first of all, not funny. Second of all, I don't have a preference on the couch. It's different when you're on the couch, because like on a couch, you can once you spread out, nobody else can be on the couch. You're kind of in the middle. So, but when it comes to sleep, I'm weird. I know I'm weird. Like for me, and I told you guys this earlier. I have to sleep with a blanket. I cannot sleep in my bed without a blanket, and not a sheet. I mean a blanket, a full-on blanket. And even if I get hot in the middle of the night and I sweat, I may take the blanket off for 5 minutes, but then I got to pull that blanket right back up to me, and I pull it all the way up to my neck, and I don't know what it is. Like my wife is like, why do you have a blanket on it? You're going to sweat. It's hot. Like, I don't care. I can't fall asleep if I don't have the blanket. It's a weird thing.
So in other words, you got a Linus complex. You got
pretty much.
That's what it is.
Hey, I'm not going to deny it. It may be. I mean, I don't carry the damn thing around with me everywhere. But when I go to sleep, yes, dude.
I think when we release this episode, we should, on social media they have those polling features. We should put it to a poll and see how many people that of our 100 followers now would I don't know how we phrase it, whether we want to say, do you have a preferred side, or is your side the left or the right, but some kind of poll and just get some feedback on it.
I think we'll find that most, particularly couples, will say that they've got their
Oh yeah.
They've got their set side, and it's I think it's like RJ said. I think it's just routine and habit. Usually, I know for most guys. Well, I know. I don't know. I assume that for most guys, it kind of revolves around what your partner prefers. So if your partner prefers to be on one side or the other, you kind of just go with the flow, right? You let them pick, and you just make adjustments. But there are times when if it doesn't feel right to you, you could probably switch it up. But for the most part, I think most of us we're just happy. We're just lucky that we got somebody sleeping with us.
Well,
so
I'll
just
tell
like,
you,
hey,
how big of a creature of habit that I am is that, my wife, I've said it before, she has asthma. So there's sometimes at night she has, breathing problems. So where she can't lay flat. Mm-hmm. So she has to sleep kind of elevated. So our couch is one of those couches that, it's has a button on the side that elevates the couch and it makes it all nice and cushy for her. Though sometimes she'll sleep on the couch. Mm-hmm. And I will sleep on my side of the bed, and I won't venture into the middle. I won't venture onto her side of the bed. It's just like, that's my little designated spot, and that's where I sleep. It's just, she'll come in the morning. She's like, why didn't you sleep you had the whole bed. Why didn't you sleep in the middle? I'm like, I couldn't. This is my side of the bed.
Okay, I changed my mind. You are weird.
Yeah. There's no denying.
So real quick, while you were on your hiatus, I brought up the fact about mattresses and talking about maybe incorporating a little bit of mattress talk into this. So, what size of mattress do you have? And, what size of mattress do y'all sleep on?
What kind?
Yeah. And have you,
okay.
So for most people, you only buy a mattress a couple of times, because it's an expense that you're only going to sink every 5 to 7, 8 years. So you're only going to buy so many mattresses in your lifetime. So of the mattresses and beds you've owned, what's the size, and what do you think is, hey, this has been my comfort bed?
Okay. So we sleep on a queen size mattress. And the mattress is one of those. It's one of those memory foam mattresses that you get that comes in a box. I think it's the Casper. No, it's not the Casper. It's one of those brands that you buy. Yeah. No, it's not the purple, because the purple has a weird like foamy. The purple ones feel weird. But this is one of those memory foam mattresses. So we went away from traditional spring mattresses just because that was our first mattress. And when those things get lumpy, man, they get lumpy and it sucks. So we actually bought one of the memory foam mattresses, but it was not firm enough. It was too soft. So we wound up moving that into the guest bedroom, where when Christian moved in, he wound up taking over that one, and we bought another one. So we actually invested in 2 mattresses within 3 years. And we bought another memory foam, but this one's a lot firmer. And so that's the thing, is because of my back, because of her back, our mattress has to be firm. So what we even did was underneath the mattress, between the box spring and the mattress, I went and bought plywood, and I have pieces of plywood underneath the mattress so that it's more firm. But that's how we, that's how we sleep is I have to have a firm mattress, but not too firm. And it's, that's my preference. My goal is, at some point, is I want a sleep number bed.
I was just about to say, who's going to plug sleep number?
Me. That's my goal, is eventually, because I want us to get a king size bed at some point. Mm-hmm. And when we do the king size bed, I want a sleep number bed. That's what I want. And I want one of those badass sleep number beds that, goes up like the hospital bed. It lifts elevates the feet.
Massager.
Yeah, I want the one with the cooling fan in it. I want the one with I want the whole shebang. I am
Yeah,
ready to drop $5,000 on a bed. You
the
know,
Rolls Royce of mattresses. That's
that's
what
what
you
I
want.
want, dude. That's gonna be my forever bed. You know, I'm ready to drop $5,000 to $8,000 on a bed with a badass mattress that I can inflate my side and she have it to my comfort level. She can inflate hers, have it to her comfort level. That's the dream, dude. That's the dream right there.
RJ, what about you? Because I think if I know from having bought you mattresses before, you like yours to be a little bit softer, but that's just I think that's how it was.
Yeah, so I sleep on a double king. No, I'm just kidding. I have a king size. I have a king size mattress. I take after my dad to an extent, and did a lot of research. Consumer reviews before I made my purchase. Obviously, I wasn't trying to spend $2,000 on my own for my first mattress just yet. But I did want something kind of nice, and obviously living with my girlfriend for the first time, didn't necessarily know what her preference was, other than we both wanted memory foam.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this brand called Layla, and they make a
That's
mattress
that
that.
that's what ours is. It's a Layla. That's
Oh,
what it
okay.
is.
And mine, or the one that we got, I don't know if they all come like this or if it's just the one that I got, but that both sides are memory foam, but one side is really more firm, and the other side
No,
is more, sinks in a little more. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've tried both sides. We both like the side that kind of sinks in a little more.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like I like it a little more soft, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily have any complaints. I mean, it's not a sleep number, but for a first, my own mattress that I bought on my own, it's not bad.
Well, we don't have the sleep number, but we did spring for the adjustable bed that massages. So we did fork over the big bucks. Um, we recently upgraded the mattress. Again, it's not a sleep number, so it doesn't adjust. But we both like a fairly firm mattress. So I think I want to say we bought a Wink mattress, and let me tell you that the technology of mattresses is it's incredible.
I
You know,
know it's crazy.
this we ordered it, they delivered it. It came in a box that was
Hmm.
it was tall, but the box was like this, and I thought there is no way that this is a full size king mattress.
Yeah. Until you
And
pulled it out and it's
right,
vacuum sealed.
yeah, you put
When
it
it
on the
goes,
bed and you cut the plastic and boom, it just springs right out. You give it an hour or so to let it breathe in the air, and it comes to full. That mattress is probably this thick.
Yeah.
It's huge. So because our bed sits on a pedestal anyway, when you have the adjustable frame, my mattress now is my whole bed is like I almost have to tiptoe to get into it. Catherine almost needs a step stool to get in. So, but no, we enjoy it. Um, it's very comfortable, and I'm hoping that we can take care of this mattress, and now that we finally have all the kids out of sleeping with us, and it's just me and my wife. I'm hoping that the mattress lasts for a while. When you got little ones, we always sprung for the mattress guard thing, and little kids they always have little accidents and stuff. It's just part of life, but um, I spent a little bit more too because I want a good quality bed, and I'm hoping that I don't have to bite that price tag for 10 more years. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we're getting to about that time.
Yeah. So you're right. I think it's time for us to go ahead and tell everybody good night. I think we had
Time to hit the mattress.
Yeah, time to hit the mattress. Right. So had another great conversation. We had some fun talking about sports and a little bit of mattress talk. Again, we want to thank you all for sticking with us. We're very excited that we got our 100th follower, subscriber on Facebook. Let's hopefully get that number up on Instagram. What did you say? We were 85, somewhere around 80. So, let's, if we can get a few more, we'd greatly appreciate it. We certainly appreciate your time. Thank you guys tonight. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and please hit the notification bell so that you'll know when we drop another episode. And don't forget to listen to us. If you can't consume us online in video format, check us out on Podbeans, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. So with that, guys, thank you again for another hour plus of your time. As we say goodnight, we want to thank you for watching the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll, Jay, and RJ. I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ.
And until next time we see you, thank you again. And thank you to Jesse P, because we couldn't do this without you. Good night.
Amen. Good night.
Good night.